What's going on, guys? Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Pasalacqua, episode number 19 of the Movement Mindset. And we're here with Marquan Jones.
What up, what up?
General manager at Station Athletics at Roseland. And so we got another one of our employees on today. Wanted to take some time to talk about Marquan, kind of what got him into the fitness industry, kind of his endeavors in CrossFit. For those of you that don't know, Marquan's been top 100, top 75, top 30 CrossFit athlete in the world for...
You made regional semis since when? What year?
20...
You had 14?
14, yeah.
All the way onwards, right?
All the way
Bro,
on.
a decade.
Yeah.
I just
10
dawned on.
Oh, shit.
10 years. Yeah.
10 years.
10 or-
Semis, regionals,
give or take.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a race. It's been a ride. It's been fun. It's been ups and downs, highs and lows. It's been all of the above. We've been all over the place doing this. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So, yeah.
Cool, man. So let's go back to the beginning. So tell us about you, where you come from. Obviously, your story is a little bit different than even a lot of our other employees, being that you're not even from the area necessarily. No. So where'd you come from? How did you get into fitness? Stuff like that.
So way back when, I mean, I'm obviously was born in 1990, March 3rd.
There you go.
I was born actually in South Carolina. Moved to back and forth between Georgia and South Carolina because my parents never married. So I was living with my mom until I was 12, and then I moved with my dad, which he resides in Columbia, South Carolina. But I was born in Anderson, South Carolina. Moved to Georgia for a little bit. Then we moved back. I moved back to South Carolina to live with my dad in Columbia. And that's when I guess you could say things changed a lot because my dad's super competitive. I had two brothers that were around the same age. We all play football. We all play sports. We all were extremely competitive. So literally we argue about who can do chores faster, who can tie their shoes faster.
Your brother said at your wedding.
Yeah, we could do. I mean, we literally competed with just about
outside.
everything. And my little brother, my little big brother, was always super faster than me. When I used to visit as a kid, he was always faster, stronger, so on and so forth. But then when I moved to Georgia and came back, I mean, he couldn't beat me in anything. But yeah, we were super competitive household, but football was the thing that we played. I mean, that's almost like what you do in the South.
Yeah.
Like, number one is, do you play football? And pretty much that's like that. Besides the Bible, that's like the second closest thing to like religion there.
Yeah.
It's like what you do. So play sports, play football throughout middle school, played throughout high school, found out we all were pretty good at the sport because we just devoted so much time to it. And throughout college, we were highly talented football players. People wanted us. Ended up making the decision to go to Clemson, play football there for all 4 years. Won an ACC championship, lost an ACC championship, but also still extremely competitive. Thought I wanted to go to the NFL. Tried to go to the NFL, actually. Thought I wanted to be an agent. So instead of hiring an agent, I tried to represent myself.
Oh, really?
And I reached out to all teams with highlight tapes and film, just saying, hey, I'm Marquan. Shook a hand, look him in the eyes, gave him a tape, take it out, check it out if you want to. Got a couple workouts with some teams, but didn't pan out. Ended up going to the CFL for a little bit, Canadian Football League, which, fun fact, that's a predominantly Canadian league. So you have to have more Canadians on the team than Americans.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's a rule. And that was partially the reason why I got released halfway through the season is because a couple Canadians got hurt.
We didn't meet the Canadian line.
Yeah, they were like, hey, you were the odd one out. It was a 53-man roster. Totally different game than American football. Don't pay much at all. I'm thinking I signed a contract for like $55,000 or something like that. But it was only for the season started in the summer. It was only for maybe 4 to 6 months. Didn't make it that long anyway because I got released, like I said. And then once I got back home, I tried to figure out what I wanted to do next. And that was, do I want to continue to try this NFL thing? Because, it's not about what you know at that point. It's about who you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of my buddies were getting into the NFL. And I still wasn't too comfortable with signing an agent. I ended up signing an agent, though. And almost they were crooks. So I was just like,
oh no.
Yeah, the situation didn't play out too well. I would go to a lot of camps. I was
This is when
showing face.
You were back in South Carolina.
Yeah, this is when I was back in South Carolina after getting released from the CFL. I hired an agent. He had 2 DBs that he really loved, and he also had me as a receiver.
Yeah.
We would go to all of these camps, but it would be one-on-ones against me versus his DBs.
Yeah.
And all he needed was a receiver on staff. That way he can pretty much display his corners.
Sure.
You know, and he would reach out to teams, say, "Hey, do you need a cornerback? Do you need a cornerback?" They'll say, "Yeah." He'll try to show them off. Unfortunately for them, I would not make the DBs look good.
Hook 'em.
So it didn't play out well. But once I found that out, at that time I was dealing with a lot. I think I snapped on them. Things didn't go too well. So I lost that. I burned that bridge pretty much. And that's when I was just like, you know what? I was still at the time living with an old girlfriend, married now, an old girlfriend. I was living with her, and I was almost relying on my dad for money and her, and so I was just like, you know what? Let's just take a step back, figure out what I need to do. I got a job in personal training.
Yep.
Started personal training, loved it, and then one of my friends, Matt Odom, said, "Hey man, you should try CrossFit." I said,
I think Matt's been up here before.
Matt's been up here before.
Times,
Yep, you met him.
Uh-huh.
He said, "Oh yeah." I met Matt said, "You should try CrossFit." Stepped into a CrossFit gym, immediately fell in love with it. I also tried to use, I didn't know if I wanted to completely give up football.
Yeah.
So I was using CrossFit and, personal training, the gym, to still kind of stay in shape just in case I got a call. Anyway, tried CrossFit. Absolutely loved it. I think 2 months later, I signed up for a competition and I came in second. Okay. We actually tied for first, and then we had to do a showdown workout, I guess you can say, which was great. 30 clean and jerks. He ended up beating me, but the guy was really good. His name was Josh Miller, and then there was a couple other.
Josh?
Yeah,
Is that really?
Yeah,
That's funny.
there was a couple other regional guys there that were really good that I beat, and everybody was like, "Quan, man, how long you been doing this?" It seemed like you've been doing it forever. And
I just wandered into.
I was like,
competition. Yeah.
Actually, I just started 3 months ago, and they were like, "Dude, keep doing it." So I think I got back to the gym in a month after that competition. I got offered a job to coach CrossFit. So I was personal training, coaching CrossFit, and I was also bouncing at a gym. So I was like, all right, income is looking pretty better than what it was. I'm not relying on my dad. I'm not relying on, whatever. So
but you're not sleeping at this point.
Not sleeping. I wasn't eating right. I was also still
because you were bouncing out of the club, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I was also still I was at Clemson still.
Yeah.
So I was like 22, 23, kind of still just getting after it, partying wise and stuff. So, but I was just going to competitions on the weekends, winning $500 to $1,000, and just I was just like,
he's like, yeah, man, I got a competition this weekend. I got to pay my rent.
I gotta pay my rent. Yeah, seriously. Me and Casey, my now wife.
Yes, right. Shout out Casey.
Shout out Casey. Me and Casey did this one competition down in Myrtle Beach, and I think the winning prize was $1,000, and I think it was on the 15th or something, which my cell phone was due at the time. And the guy handed us, we ended up winning the competition. The guy handed us the check. I said, "Babe, we gotta go to the bank. I gotta pay the cell phone bill." So, yeah. And at that time, like I said, I didn't know. I mean, I was having fun with it,
Yeah.
And then once I realized that I was really good at the sport, I was like, all right, maybe I should try to take this to the next level and see what happens. I think that same year I ended up qualifying for regionals, which was good. And then they changed some rules, and then I did not qualify in 2015.
They dropped it from 50 to 38.
Yeah, it was 50 to 38. It wasn't a super region yet, but then it was
That's
50
when they
to
changed
30.
the rules around too, because people were bouncing around,
teaming up.
They would stack up in certain regions.
Correct.
And then if you would have stayed in the South, you would have been top 15.
Yes, exactly. So
that.
I mean, the rules
all around regionals, so try and qualify.
That was one of 1,000 rule changes from CrossFit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Over
They
the last
always
10
change
years.
So the OG way.
So that happened, and then then me and Casey, my girlfriend at the time, she was my girlfriend at the time. We just started dating, and I think I came to visit her. She was living in Jersey, and
so just so everyone knows, Casey, his wife, is from Sparta.
She's from Sparta.
First gym was it was just a coincidence.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I just say, hey, I need to get a workout in. Went to
where
Station
I met
Road, Sparta.
I don't know if you remember this. I met Casey at a CrossFit competition.
Yeah, I think she told me that.
J-Town gym.
J-Town, yeah.
She won the competition. I was there just watching.
Yep.
Right. And then
Oh, this girl can
and
go
then
down.
I was like, wow, oh, she's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She told me that. And then she was like, I'm gonna try Sparta. Let's go there to work out. I was like, all right, cool.
Days. It was over Thanksgiving or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know, I met Joe. Joe was like, hey man, I'm kind of thinking about opening up a gym. Kind of just like wanted to get a workout. It wasn't serious at that time. So then we worked out. I met Joe then, and then ever since then it was pretty much like we were in touch constantly, asking about scores, so on and so forth. Then about a year later, he said, I'm opening up another spot, man. Would you be interested in coming up here? And I was thinking about going to another place to work, and that fell through. And it only made sense for, Casey just got graduated.
Yeah.
And it only made sense for me to come here.
I remember that conversation, man.
Yeah.
I remember I'm like, man, I go, all right, sign this lease. At the time, we signed that lease to that little gym up the road, Roseland Avenue.
Yeah.
Man, we'll get into that later, but man.
Yeah.
But I remember like being like, man, I need to get a coach. And at the time it was basically just me and Trotta.
Yeah.
Me and John. And then like we had like a couple of our part-time people, Vicky, Ashley at the time. So we had like staff for it. And then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give this a try. So I remember calling Marquan and be like, yo, what are you doing? Casey's graduating. Is she staying down there?
Yeah.
Is she coming back? And then that's how the whole relationship started.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Casey was thinking about coming back. I mean, like we were thinking about just staying in South Carolina. We were gonna work at this other gym. This woman said she wanted me to help, get things started there. And I was like, all right. But she, like I said, she had no plan. Joe had a better plan, and I liked that plan a little bit more. Plus, Casey will be coming back home.
Yeah.
Plus, at that time, for me, I was just looking for something new, an extreme change, because I was always in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I played football, and that didn't pan out. Kind of like one of those chapters in life you feel like you needed to get away from in order to grow.
Full reset.
Yeah, in order to grow. And that was one of those things I was just like, Pops. And I told him like literally the last minute. I was like, like maybe 2 weeks or 2 weeks, a month out. I was like,
you know what your dad said to me a couple weeks ago when he was here, or a couple months ago, right before the wedding? He goes, yeah, man, just so you know, I looked you up when Quan was coming up. I was like, I know shit. I know, right?
So I was like, nah, I'm leaving. Like I'm going to Jersey. He was like, what? And I was just like, yeah. I was like, I mean, at the time our relationship was a little, so I was like, it's just time for me to make a huge change. Yeah. I feel like this is going to help me propel my career in the right direction. And at the time, I was like really, really, really thinking about CrossFit at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it took you to. It's crazy when you think about like what the sport did,
right?
For people just in general. It's like think about the fitness side, the business side, what it does. People meet, and like we talked about this in some of the other ones. You know what I mean? It's like you and your wife like developed like this.
Yeah.
This relationship that turned into you guys ended up getting married. You know what I mean? Like it's like cool to like understand where, that's the kind of the point of these. Told you, like, it's kind of cool to see like wherever it come from, and like, and me and Quan, like, so me and Quan at the time, right? Like it was like, oh, cool. I got this awesome training partner.
Yeah.
Right. So we work out every fucking day.
Every day.
And then like,
after it.
Yeah, we're just getting after it. Right. And then everything kind of shifts a little bit, right? It's like the gym required certain things. It's like, because from my perspective, it's like, all right, I hired this guy to come up here. I got to figure out, I got to make sure I can keep paying everybody. And this.
Well, it's the same thing you do with
John. It's the same thing. It's like, I need to make sure that we can pay everybody. And if that means it's like my time gets changed, and it gets changed. And like what you said, it's like a reset.
That's it. That's all it was.
Everyone's perspective kind of changes on what becomes important to them.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's exactly what it was. You had a vision from the start. You said, hey man, this is the second location. I'm planning on having.
I'm gonna open up.
He was like, I'm about to do more. I'm gonna do more, and I'm gonna do more. And look at you now. Like you're doing it. So like you were literally following through with your plan. And initially, like you just used CrossFit as a. I mean, we did it to stay in shape. We had some fun with it. You still having some fun with it. And then it was just like, all right, like you said, you went
24, like what, I'm 2 years older than you, so I'll be 36 tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like
Friday.
Yeah,
second.
Friday. Oof, boy. Old.
So yeah, 2 years older, and at the time, I was just like, you told me the plan, and the plan is rolling out like exactly how you wanted it.
Yeah,
so that's good.
So just kind of let's backtrack a little bit. So when Quan moved up here, we had a gym down the road in Dorset Avenue. This is before like we started running our Facebook advertisements and everything, and we're going and we're open for a while, and the place was small. It was kind of laid out like shit. Do you remember that?
I do.
Do you remember that business coach that we had? What is his name?
He was such a weirdo. He was like, you know this art park that's up here? He literally thought it was a park. Rikers Art Park.
Yeah.
I've definitely driven past.
He's like,
he was like, the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna tell everybody to meet at this place, and we're gonna have our first grand opening workout at Rikers Art Park.
Okay.
Right? Thinking that it was a park, like you can move around.
Yeah,
oh no.
Like we go there, dude, it's an abandoned old, like that's where they shot old missiles or something. Like that. So what they had was just like, yeah, it's an art park, but it's literally like
it's not like
scrap metal designed into art.
That's not
and it's like
first impression.
No, and I was just like, I go out there and people like where are you taking me? They looking at me like, and I'm just like, oh man, I guess I should have did my research first. Like I'm looking around like I don't know what this is. I'm like, one or two people showed up and then they were just like, nah, this looks sketchy, dude.
They're like, I don't think we're gonna sign up.
We're not doing it.
Yeah. So we ended up, we opened up there. It was 2015.
Yeah.
Like December. That's when CrossFit Pump closed and we bought all that equipment. We moved it all over there. We still have that weird shit. Scotty has like all the weird stuff and shit. We still have like bits and pieces of it all over the place. And then so then we opened up. That gym closed. We got lucky and we ended up getting like a bunch of OGs. We had like, I don't know, 18-ish people, something like that. So it was like a nice base. Never really accelerated after that, you know, because we were trying to like figure it out. I was bouncing back and forth. It was new for me because Quan was basically, you were coaching pretty much all the classes.
Literally every class you
And it was also new for me because I was never in a managerial position.
Yeah.
Like I was always just, so I was kind of learning as I was going. We both were, you knew way more. Obviously you started Sparta. So, and I was just, you know, kind of like, what to do? I didn't know what to do. So it was just
hard because you try to find busy work, but it's like, you know, it's like trying to figure, because we were still trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, you know what? I'm like, Quan, this isn't working. I was like, this area is good. Like, there's no way that we can't do this here. And that's when like the New You challenges were popular. We did the first one there. And remember, I then signed the lease here.
Yep.
And I'm like, bro, we're getting the fuck out of here. Just so everyone knows, landlord was a super nice guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his name was. He was a super nice guy. The problem was the gym butted up against a water treatment plant. Oh, and when the wind blew east or whatever direction towards the gym, it smelled like pure shit.
100%. That's exactly what it was. It
was to the point where I'm like, dude, you can't even open the fucking garage door. Yeah. It was so bad.
Yeah.
Awful.
It was bad.
Right. It was bad. So like you're not run outside. It was just bad. So, and then like, and there was a lot of things too. It was like trucks were going in and out. It was like parking was a nightmare.
It was a little bit smaller.
Yeah, it was tiny. So then we committed to this, and Quan's like, "Are you sure?"
Like, bro,
you told me. I feel like I mean, it was one of those situations where like literally we just took it felt like we just took all the equipment out in the middle of the night and it just bounced. I mean, obviously it wasn't like that, but like he was just like, I'm out. So
we're going with this shit because I'm fighting with him. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I go, your trucks are in and out all the time. My members came and park in by the building.
Right.
So I basically kind of used it to kind of be like, listen, man, we need to work something out. We worked something out. I ended up paying him like a little bit of money to buy out. We left. And then we opened up here. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this is like classic Joe 101. I'm like, man, now what the fuck how am I pay this shit? Yeah. I'm start hustling. We start going. But that's right during that time, we figured out all the Facebook advertisements.
Yeah.
So I remember, so at the time, Quan was the manager running majority of the classes. And then we hired Brian right then.
Yeah.
Right? Remember?
Yeah,
so Brian worked for us full time. Brian's job was to manage the challenges.
Yes.
Right? At the time, we have InBody. We're doing like body measurements and shit.
Yeah.
But the place was packed out as soon as we started running those.
Yep.
30, 40 people.
30, 40
Remember
people.
Shit, dude?
We had 2 classes. Brian, and then we had a good system in play because we treated it as, if you're new, this is essentially your own rap program.
Yes.
Yeah. Because remember the one-on-ones we were doing?
The one-on-ones, we tried to do the one-on-ones for a little bit, and then we end up, like I said, going to the New You, and the way Brian programmed for that was just.
Yeah, we had our own 6-week program.
We sat down and it was perfect.
The weight loss piece to it. We gave really basic nutrition. It's actually really similar to nutrition stuff that we do now. We didn't change that much. And then,
But we also had an issue. Remember, we only had this one wall up.
Oh yeah, this shit behind us was not there.
It was not there.
Yeah.
So we had one wall up, and then literally in the challenge class, it was maybe 20 people in this corner, and then we had maybe 15 people in the CrossFit class. And then we're trying to do both classes at the same time. We had like 40 people in one space.
There was a rig right here.
Yep.
Behind us, that white rig.
And then we also ran into an issue at the end. It was a jewelry store.
Remember that?
So the jewelry store guy says, they're making too much noise. I could feel the floor vibrating whenever they're They're dropping the weights. And then Joe, we were like, no way. So we walked over there one day and was like, can't hear a thing, maybe a little bit, like barely.
Shit was
so Joe had to like hire this sound guy from New York.
Sound engineer.
The sound engineer
was wild.
New York to measure how much sound was coming off the ground.
They had to measure in decibels.
Yeah. So the landlord was about to like
shut
the doors somewhere or
the
something.
landlord was like, we need to do something about this. So then I had to hire, it was like a couple $1,000. This weird guy that probably just plays guitar all day came in here and did like a sound thing. These people ended up leaving anyway, but that's what was happening. We were dropping barbells and this is one slab, the whole building. So they were like, it's making a lot of noise. It was actually kind of loud if you went over there.
Okay. It
would be like,
you can hear it.
It was like a little bit, but it was a little bit. It was just funny though. But then it was like this whole thing. And then I remember his wife came in here once. She was like yelling and I just like flipped my shit.
Yeah.
And then that was the end of that. And then they ended up moving out like 4 or 5 months later.
Yeah. They were like in the mix of like wanting to renegotiate.
Yeah. It actually worked out because the guy next door runs a karate studio.
Yep.
And then we convinced the landlord, say, hey, we want his space, which is that space now.
Yep.
And then he pushed them back.
Yeah.
So then we took over and now we have a big gym. It's like almost 8,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you, Quan, right, you've been working for Joe for a while. Positions molded and adjusted and changed. And right now it's like, okay, Marquan is the general manager at Roseland. He's in charge of managing the staff, all the members who come in. But we mentioned it and we talked a lot about it with your history. It's like, okay, you've also been a high level CrossFit athlete. So
totally different balance point.
Totally different balance. Yeah. And to that point, man, and I think I did hear Courtney say last week, I'm gonna piggyback off this, is the staff is everything, man.
Yeah.
Right? Because and back in the day, it was like we did maybe 1 or 2 big competitions outside of the actual CrossFit stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like Granite Games or Waterpalooza.
Yep.
That was it. Now it's like, sanctionals. We were doing so many competitions. And now you kind of got to do a lot more competitions or whatever. But anyway, it was simple because me or Brian would just take all the classes. We would coach all the classes. And then
the problem though, right? Because
we
go to Waterpalooza and meet Brian and they're like, you could be the one year. We had like 7 or 8 of the staff members were all Miami.
Yeah.
Right? So like, we're like struggling to fill classes.
Trying to figure out how to fill those classes. But we ended up figuring all of that stuff out, hired a couple more coaches here and there. But the staff is everything because a lot of people understand and they're gracious enough to allow me to do that at the same time. It's getting to the point now to where that's got to definitely slow down.
Yeah, sure.
Plus my knees hurt. So, but to piggyback off what Courtney was saying last week or 2 weeks ago, it was the help that we have is phenomenal. That I have is phenomenal.
The part-time staff is very important.
The part-time staff is very important. And then, whenever I have to step away or any of us have to step away, we have a backbone to help us.
Would you say that's the #1 factor that allows you to kind of balance, or has at least allowed you? I know now we've talked about it. It's like you're still competing, but I mean, you even said avenues and things have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
But more so than that, like at least over the last couple of years, would you say that's the #1 factor that's allowed you to balance doing both?
100%. Yeah. The help. One factor actually being brought in, to be honest with you. Because,
really?
Because you work, you're relentless. And then at the end of the day, it's like Haley was helping out as well.
Yeah.
Big time. So if you get caught in a position to where you have just a workhorse, then it's just like, all right, I can step away without having to feel like a step is lost.
Yeah. Big thing I want to just like kind of talk about that is everyone supports what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and that's like a big thing, is it's
huge.
Like the community piece of this is like, people know what level he was competing at and how difficult that is and how much time and energy he's put into that.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about it before, like just like Frank with Marquan is like, people don't understand when you compete at a level like that, that's a 4-hour commitment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every day.
It's a lot of training.
And that's not, I'm not talking about treatments and recovery and stretching, nutrition, so like it's a full-time job just to commit to that. So when people recognize like, hey, he qualified for this, he's running this gym, he's coaching this many classes, he's interactive, he's like in good spirit,
Well, that's the other thing. It's like,
Courtney
touched on it in that last interview. It's like, not for nothing, but the GM, there's a lot that goes into our job. And that's what's allowed us to grow to this level, is because we're so dialed in on a lot of that stuff. Now, obviously, but we learn through mistakes, but it's like, okay, well, so you're working out 4 hours a day, but there's still an 8-hour workday.
Right.
So it's like, you have to balance both.
Right.
And it's a lot to kind of handle, but to speak on the community, that's why, like, I always thought it was so cool. And I mean, you've never experienced this because you've been the one competing.
Right.
But literally on semifinals or regionals weekend, like Saturday classes come to a halt.
Right.
Like literally people are
TV.
Exactly.
They sending me pictures. They're like, we're watching you right here on TV while class is going on. You see people rowing.
Exactly. They're all rowing over here watching the
cool.
TV.
Yeah,
and so it's cool to see the community's support of you there.
And in that aspect, I'm extremely grateful. And this is just something that Joe built. So it all started essentially when you remember when we first got here, especially we're talking about treatment, nutrition. You used to work with a company, Kettlebell Kitchen, Eat Clean Bro as well.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Kettlebell Kitchen was just like 1 week sending me food. Next week they were like, we're done. We're closing the doors.
Like, we're coming to take our fridge. I'm like, no, you're not.
We're like,
what? Like $1,500.
That's crazy. But you remember, like when we first got here, he was like, hey man, like what are a couple things that you feel like you can capitalize on to make it better? You know, CrossFit career. Better.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, man. Eating better. At the time I knew nothing about it. And you also put me in touch with doing the therapy for us. Chris. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
Boy, Chris.
Oh, that could be another.
That's a whole
save that for another time. But yeah, I would get all my body work done from him. I would have free food set up for me and Casey at the time. Kettlebell Kitchen would just send like 15 meals a week, and he did that for maybe 3 years. Or something
expensive
like
too. You don't realize.
And it was really expensive. Yeah.
Because if you and her were to eat even just 2 meals a day,
right,
you're spending I'm not even talking about regular groceries.
Right.
You're dropping $500 a week.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So that was a huge connection there. Obviously, all of the equipment here was a huge. Remember that one time we went to Wadapalooza and I was getting whooped. And that swim run. Yeah. And I've never run on a true form. And then as soon as we get back from Wadapalooza, 3 true forms are already here. And I'm like, dude, Joe, how did you do this? And he was just like,
I'll
figure it out. We'll figure it out. So
it should be in the name of the book.
No, man.
Outside the community support, you guys, the staff that we have, obviously Joe running this thing and you coming in and you just like helping out, taking out a big bite of the apple for me and the staff doing the same thing whenever it's time for me to compete. It's tremendous.
From my perspective, it was like he's at the level he's at. So I know it's like, one, it's great for our community. It's great for our business. And we've been friends for so long that I'm like, if I get him this, it's going to be that much easier.
Yeah. Right.
Plus, we're all using the shit.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's.
It like benefits everything. But like, that's why I always say is like, when we have like some of the most equipped gyms in the general area.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been to a lot of gyms. We've been to a lot of gyms, and you walk in and you're like, how do you even operate?
Yeah.
Even yesterday, right? Remember those wall balls at Westfield?
Yeah.
So dude, you'll laugh at this, right? So I ordered all brand new wall balls for Westfield, the gym that we're opening.
Yeah.
Right? And I had like some extra Dynamax balls, 6, 10s, and 14s, and they're all on the floor. And I walk in there and I look at Haley, I go, we're not fucking using these. They're old looking, but like they're better balls than the ones that we ordered. But like visually, you know what I mean? Like, we'll just get different ones.
Right.
Put these away.
Yeah.
And it was like, because you want people's perspective to be like, wow, this is great. I walk in here, I got all these different tools that staff can use. And it's not even just for our regular programming, for subs and scaling, like the ability, like even like a sandbag, right? To be able to get someone to be like, oh, I can't do 100 or 150 pound sandbag. All right, great. I got 80s for you.
Yeah.
You know, just like little tiny things like that go a long way. Yeah. Plus, my whole thing was like, we were just talking about with those kettlebells, like those 150s. The 1 year Quan had to do double 150 pound deadlifts. Right. So one of our members bought them for him. Yeah. Because they wanted him to be able to practice. Like, and that's the stuff that like I think goes unseen on like the community piece. People are grateful
100%
for what you do, you know.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for the people. So
I guess let's just go on to the next piece.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is like that actually kind of segues really well. So you're talking about all the different equipment, and some of it is pretty necessary, not just for the classes, but we talk about each of our employees has a superpower. Byron actually coined the term. He was like, find what everyone's superpower is. So for me, I think about it before every episode. And so for you, I think what you do a really good job of is like, you have like a magnetic personality and you're good at like pulling people into a community. And so I see that really well with not only the community of our members, but like I was in the gym yesterday, Joe, and legit there was 8 to 10 people here working out. Yeah. At 1 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Well, it's funny because like I'll be somewhere like someone that's in the CrossFit space. I'm like, oh, you know Marquan? They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, he runs the gym in Roseland.
Yeah.
Like because it's like because you have that, man. You have that aura of you. Even like I always make fun of his ass, right? Because we'll be at a competition and Quan made the game. He's a games athlete, right?
Yeah.
But we'll be at semis or we'll be at regionals, and random ass people will be like, "Can I have your autograph?"
Oh my god!
It's like Quan makes jokes
like, I'm like, all right, but I haven't done anything. But if you want it,
but like people, gonna do a great like reputation, honestly, like the whole country. It's because of like you always stop, you say hi to everyone, you'll interact with people.
What do you think that comes from?
To be honest with you, the nature of, like I said, growing up, we had brothers that my brothers would always. We would always just communicate. We were always talking, communicating, either if it's trash talking or if it's small talk. Sure. We were always just chit-chatting. And then going to Clemson University, to where we took a couple of courses on how to be a little bit more personable, look into your the personage you're talking to. Just the way I was raised, and things that happen throughout life helped me become somebody walking in. You just don't be rude. You speak. You say, "Hey, how are you?" And if you ask somebody how they're doing, genuinely, you're supposed to mean that,
And it's crazy that you say that, because it seems so simple, but like, not for nothing, we talked about
Jersey's tough.
Man.
Yeah.
People are mean here, man.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
We talked about you like being in it for 10 years, and I've been working here since 2017. So over the last 7 or so, the people you've worked out with in that time frame, because Quan generally works out in the middle of the day, the people have changed, but you always have a group of people to work out with, because you're always attracting people to just hang out. And most people don't know, like, that's part of the reason why I ended up here. I was at a different gym.
I was literally just gonna say
and I didn't like my open performance, and at the time I was pretty into the sport, and I literally just looked up regional athletes in the area, and I made a list. And Quan touched it. If anyone knows, I can be a little neurotic when I get on something like that. So I made a list, and I was like, I'm just gonna reach out to all these guys and be like, when you work out, because I'm gonna come. And every single person was like, well, this, that, the other thing. The only person who was like, dude, come whenever you want, was Mark.
Yeah.
Always,
come whenever you want. Troy, Drew. Yeah.
We literally had entire, like,
we could put together several teams based off how many people came in.
How many people will come, because I was always like that too with you. Because I remember when we first did that, you're like, oh, these people are coming. Like, dude, I don't care. It don't matter. Like, whatever. The more, the better. 100%. That allowed Quan to go to a whole new level, because he always had somebody
training.
Right.
Yeah.
Quan never had. I always say this too. You had somebody that was. He's not gonna care me saying this. If he had someone that was better than him.
Correct. Yep. I was about to say that myself.
He never really had that, but what he had was a group of people that were constantly chasing him. So he was always on his horse.
Yes.
That, or I would always have a group of people that was specialized in one thing or the other.
Yeah, like Brian.
Brian was a great, like, almost all body weight movements, gymnastics. He would probably get the nod on it.
Yeah.
Remember the one open? He beat you in everything.
He beat me in there, like, except
the weightlifting one.
Right. No, it was actually, we went 2 and 2, and on the last one, it was like thrusters and chest to bar or something like that. It was just like a 7-minute grind, and I was just like, I think I barely beat him on that, but he also was dealing with a knee injury or something. So it was like,
that's when he got his
Brian was one of those ones. And then you with the strength, like your strength numbers were always back squats crazy. So it was just like different parts to where somebody would be specialized in one area.
It made us so much better too, man.
Right.
Athletically.
Yeah.
It took all of us to like a whole, and that's what I'm saying is, it's like, it was so great to have that from a competitive piece, because as by nature, like, we all played sports in college, the 3 of us, plus, there's very few exceptions on our staff, the high level staff. And it's so important for people to understand of like why, when I like love hiring athletes, because in every aspect of your life, competition always triumphs. I don't care. And no one could ever argue with me with that. Is I would, every single day of the week, I would rather take someone that has experienced suffering from an athletic perspective, because it carries over so well into your life.
Life.
And then the other thing I thought that like is unique about you is your ability in class, watching you. I've seen you be able to coach, cue, and critique the highest level athlete in class, and like the brand new person. And so between that and the fact that, like, I mean, you could do that. Here's a great example. So Quan coached Monday. He coached Monday morning. This weekend, he was at Vegas celebrating James's birthday.
Okay. Oh, that was this weekend, right?
His flight, he told me his flight didn't get in until 11 a.m. and he was up at 5:30 to coach class, and no one would have known the difference.
So you know what's funny? This is a good stat. Quan never one time, he missed one early morning class only because he got in a car accident at 5 o'clock in the morning. Quan's never one time.
So
and how many years you been working with me for now? 8 8,
10, going on 10 next year.
Next year will be 10, right?
Yeah.
10 years. Quan's never missed an early morning class except for that one time.
That one time because I got in a car accident. The car almost, that was, I love it, man. I love what I do. And like you were saying, the low level to high level athlete is just, it's just, everything's have to start somewhere.
Sure.
And then we can touch on everything.
Quan's really direct with people too. He's like you got to do this if you want to progress in this. This is what you got to do.
And that goes over to what you were saying.
People, you know.
Yep, it goes to what you were saying just now. To where if you're competitive, it's just, or if you want it, it's simple.
People say that all the time. I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger.
Right.
I want to do this. But then it's like always, like this.
Yeah.
How many people walk through the doors like, oh, I played high school football. But I'm like, what the fuck happened to you?
Yeah,
like,
you're soft
right.
now, yeah.
You know, so it's like and that's why he's always been really good with, and for the longest time, up until Haley taking the new position at the other gym, your main job was client interaction.
Correct.
You know, coaching and client interaction, making sure they're solving problems, making sure people are progressing. Quan just came out with like this awesome prehab and post exercise stretching program, right? Because we're getting clients that are starting to get a little bit older, especially people that have been here for 10 years, and it's been like a great implementation. You know, people have been following it.
That's good.
So over the last 10 years, what would you say is your favorite part of your position?
The community, the people. It may seem like the same thing every day, but I walk in and Bob may not feel the same as he felt the next day.
Sure.
So like now we got to deal with this different emotion change or so on and so forth. And it's just like that every day. People have different emotions, different things going on in life to where they're not quite the same as they was before. And it's always fun to explore that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So that's what keeps it fun is the community. And just being able to walk in and see some people that's, that, hey, Quan, I'm going to Aruba next week. I'll let you know all about it. And then when they come back, you're like, tell me all about Aruba.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. And they bring gifts or maybe I'll put that on a list or even nice. I like to eat. So even a nice restaurant that they visited, they tell us all about it. So the community is really something that's just like, it helps with the experience of, having a better experience for them, myself is included, because most of the time, whatever a client is doing or a member is doing, I'll, go follow up with it,
And that's tough. Like most people,
micro gym business.
Most people don't realize, and we've talked about this, and I know I've talked about it with people before, like with what we do, at least in our design, so much of your job and the other general manager's job is that personal interaction with the members. And it's like, sometimes you end up being their biggest cheerleader. You end up being their therapist. You end up being the shoulder to cry on. And it's like, it actually can be a lot, but if you have the right person in place, that's what helps.
How many times do you get people say like, this place saved me?
Oh my gosh.
100%.
I can't even tell you.
I can think of one person right now. She literally met her husband here and they now have 2 beautiful children.
Yes.
And
she was struggling.
She couldn't even do a air squat off the box. I mean, I don't want to call her out, but she couldn't do an air squat.
What you're talking about.
And then the next day she called me, she said, Quan, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I don't think the meal plan is not working for me. It's like, well, you're in day one. So we haven't even got into it. So
I sat with her so many times. Great people.
Her
husband, great people. The kids are great. And, and as I'm saying is like, she's developed, she's lost weight, she's in great shape, and she has 2 kids, strong, and she just embraced it. You know? But that's what I'm saying is like, there's countless people like that.
Right.
And to see that and see what you do for people mentally. And then basically what I wanted to kind of say there was, that's what the point of like the micro gym business is what Quan said about like the interaction with the people and the development of the relationships that you create with people. But like what creates that, and the point of like, we talked about this off air before, like how come we're doing like employee, right? Like GM.
Yeah.
The point is what the whole business structure, right? And we just talked about this. Quan's like, man, you've been talking about this shit forever. And we're just like opening up gyms, right?
Yeah.
We're in the service business.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're in the gym business because that's what the service is. But everything relates back to having someone like Marquan, personality set of, I genuinely love what I do, and it carries over to all the clients.
Yes, I care about the clients that come in the building.
And that's the whole point of it. The people are the most important thing, and you just talked about that with your staff too.
Right.
So Quan's job has changed a little bit over the past couple of months because Haley has left, but Marquan's understanding it is like, I need to make sure my staff is up to his par.
Yeah.
Right. One, because Chris stays off his ass.
That too.
But Quan's in charge of the day-to-day, and that's what we empower the GMs to be able to do.
Yeah.
Is I want his staff to operate, one, because I trust his ability to coach a class better than anybody.
Yep.
Right. Because you do, dude. You're one of the best coaching perspectives. You taught me so much shit even when I was training with him, right? It's like, hey, Joe, do this cue, do this cue, this cue.
Yeah.
Right, from snatching. Just so everyone knows, you'll laugh at this too. People will be like, Marquan snatched his first year doing CrossFit like fucking 225.
Yeah.
It took me like 6 fucking years to hit 225.
I was so lucky with that.
Right? Because Quan break down, he's so analytical with the movements. So the reason why I'm bringing it up is I'm joking about it, but he knows how to dial people in on the coaching wise. And you know this from how when I'm in Sparta, I critique all the staff. These people need to work better on that. I know he does the same thing.
Sure.
When he sees them like, hey, you need to cue this better. Like just learning how to coach a class in an hour scheme. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
Right. And he holds them at a high standard.
Yeah. Yep. So to kind of close out, I texted you, right? 3 questions we always like to end each one of these interview podcasts with. First one is just to humanize the people who think maybe the GMs walk on water. It's so the first one is always, what is the hardest bad habit for you to break?
That was a good one because I have an off season and an on season. And during the off season, I kind of let everything go.
Sure.
Where I'm just like I said, I'm going out. I was in Vegas last week with some buddies. I have a bad sweet tooth though. Terrible. Like I can probably eat candy all day, every day. Like Oreos for breakfast, pizza, ice cream for lunch, and I'll be okay with it. So whenever it's time for me to get serious and I got to break this little bad habit, for 6 to 8 months, I pretty much eat clean.
Yeah.
I got to change it up. So for me, that habit is hard to get out of, but in a long haul, I always think about the bigger picture, the goal that I want to set. Hey, I got to qualify for quarters, moving into semis, moving into maybe possibly the games. So it's time to really, really focus on dialing in on what you're eating. And that's a bad habit of mine, is eating a lot of sweets.
Well, that's also like why we hone in and we talk about goals a lot, is because it's like, let's be real. If you didn't have a goal,
right,
you probably don't change that.
I would never change it.
Because
without CrossFit, dude, I don't know honestly where I would be, because it was one of those things to where like, all right, I'm gonna stop training. I'm gonna stop going out to get some sleep or stop drinking because I got this competition coming up next week, and then it's a local comp, so it's whatever. And then as time goes on, you're like, all right, wow, I'm gonna stop so I can like get ready for semis.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna stop so I can get ready for quarter. So then it's all of a sudden you get caught in this lifestyle to where you're like, I really don't need it. I feel much better and it's good to treat yourself every now and again and have that control to do so. And I have that.
Quan would drink your ass on the table. I tell you.
Probably so. But whenever it's time to have fun, it's time to have fun. And then it's just like, all right, now it's time to get back on track.
Well, and that allows you to speak to the members who are like, oh, I can't get back on track. It's like, no, you can.
You could definitely do.
Because it's like, I can tell you what I do. I'm able to step off, enjoy myself, and then get right back on track.
And you need it. You need it too. And I wouldn't say like, obviously if it's an issue, then you maybe have to seek help. But in terms of if it's not too big of an issue, and to stay sane, it's okay to step away after 2 or 3 months of going really hard on trying to lose 10 pounds. To say, hey, I'm gonna go out with my wife, my girlfriend, my friends, and have a drink and eat some ice cream, do whatever you got to do, and then just say, okay, you'll feel like shit, but just say, okay, now it's time for me to get back on track. Yeah, so that's one of my things, one of my habits that I definitely have to break every so often.
So you mentioned sweets. The next one is, what is your favorite cheat meals?
Yeah. Wow, the list can go on.
Quan's foodie, man.
Dude, at one point I was eating Ben and Jerry's half-baked ice cream every night. And I think I was doing that for maybe a month or so. So a couple 30 plus days. But right now,
everyone at Roseland is just like shaking their, like, I can't do that.
But right now I'm on this kick to where it's called an outrageous bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Reese's. It's got a Reese nougat in the middle. It's wrapped in Reese pieces and it's covered in chocolate. And it's got caramel in it. Oh my God.
That's your jam.
That's my jam right now. But it's only a candy bar, and I'm having that about every night now. 1 or 2.
if you could eat dinner with any one person, dead or alive, in history, who would it be?
I'm big on knowledge, and whenever somebody can share knowledge with you and perspective of like it's going to help you grow and also keep it genuine and fun at the same time. Because sometimes you could talk to these guys that have like a lot of knowledge and they just like go hard, hard. I would probably say the cliche like LeBron James or something like that. Yeah, LeBron James is one of those guys that seem perfect in the eye of the community, which probably not, but he seems like he is. Built schools, billionaire, probably invested in a lot of things, just super smart with his money, great family guy, maybe, and you know, but LeBron James, probably have dinner with LeBron for sure.
Cool. You got anything before we let him go?
I always like to say, Quan's a great perspective of why we wanted to bring him on here, right? Is want people to see like the different personality sets of what we look for in employees, which all goes back to our client experience every single time. And Quan always fit that mold from day one. You know what I mean? He's unbelievably gifted athlete, right? Played football at a high level. You don't even tell people that. Like, oh yeah, I played Clemson. You know what I mean? It's, you know, one of the best CrossFit athletes for a very long period of time, you know, games athlete, and he's been at that high level, like you said. I believe it was top 100 for over a decade. You've been in the world.
It's crazy.
It's a long, long time, you know, and I've got to experience like so many great things with him all the years with everything. Even with me taking a step back and doing some other things. But, you know, from just like a genuine perspective, Quan always says what he means. There's no variation. If he don't agree with you, he don't agree with you. He's one of the biggest conspiracy theorists.
Oh yeah, I am a conspiracy theorist. Not as hardcore as some people, but I am pretty like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm skeptical.
No, dude, you know, we're so happy that you're still here with us.
Yeah,
you know, we're still growing.
Appreciate it.
We got a lot of goods going on.
Sure,
definitely. Thank you, guys.
Hey, so as always, guys, like and subscribe to us, YouTube, follow us on Instagram. We'll see you at the gym.
Aish.